I'm going to start actually with you, Joe. I mean, in the opening scene, in the opening shot, you set a man on fire and then watch him fall off a building. When you got the script and you read that, you must have just thought, yeah, this looks like a character in a world I quite want to get involved in.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because when I first got the script, I read Gangs of London, and I've been getting sent a few gang shows recently, and I just thought, no, thank you. You know, I've done my time, and I think it takes a big set of kahunas to use that title and kind of, you know, and do it justice. But then I read the script and I knew Gareth Edwards was attached, and I was a big fan of his work, and the script just blew me away. I mean, it really, some of the stuff I read in it, I was like, how are they going to pull this off? And then subsequently reading the other episodes, it was something I was desperate to be a part of, and you know, worked hard to get to try and get the role, and yeah, it was a lot of fun on set, man. It was something special, I think.
So what was it that attracted you to get involved in the project? What was the initial sort of thing that made you think this is one I definitely want to get involved in?
I got a character breakdown of the role of Elliot, and then where he fit in this heightened version of London. And I read it and I was just like, this is television? Like, I've not seen anything of this scale before. So I knew that it was part of a different kind of TV show that I wanted to be a part of, for sure. And then also the role, like this man and the way he wanted to align himself with the Wallace family, and the tactics and ways he would use to get closer and climb higher, and his ambition and his drive. I just thought it was going to be a really interesting challenge of my craft in order to portray him to the best of my ability.
So when I did a drama at A-levels, that's about as far as I ever took it. And whenever they said I'd sort of make up your own story, we always just found ourselves falling into the kind of London gang kind of thing. That was always like the kind of, what is it about, firstly, what is it about you think this sort of world that just appeals to people? And also, does it sort of tap into that kind of quite innate world of make-believe, you know, that kind of, because I guess the reason we all sort of got drawn to telling these stories was there was something kind of quite thrilling and fun about running around pretending we had guns and pretending to be the bad guys. And I'm just wondering if you're doing this now sort of professionally, if it sort of, do you think it taps into an almost childlike quality in some regards?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is Gareth and Corin and Xavier have created this kind of heightened stylistic world, and yeah, we try. It's not completely real in terms of some of the fight choreography and things like that. We're trying to do something different, and I think definitely, you know, it's like it's a form of escapism for a lot of people.
I mean, like, there's the scene where I'm stalking through the Doss house towards the end of episode 1. And I mean, like, I remember trying to be James Bond when I was younger as a kid, going down the halls of my school, you know, just like pretending who's around the corner and all that stuff. And I was now being paid to do that as an actor. So as an actor, there's definitely an element of like living out childhood fantasies. And being able to like hold a gun and fire one without ever having the risk of taking a bullet, you know. Because there's one thing like pretending to be a soldier, and there's another thing being in a war zone. And I think that not only is there escapism for us in terms of like playing out these games, but also there's an escapism for the audience to just imagine what it might be like if the world was a little bit more dangerous, or I was privy to that world, but I'm never going to take a bullet from through this TV screen, so I'm happy to watch it from a distance, you know.
Because I mean, obviously the characters are capable of quite reprehensible actions. Do you just generally, not just these characters, but just generally across your career, do you think you have to like characters in order to portray them? Would you have to find a semblance of kind of empathy towards them in order to really get into their head?
I think you have to understand them, otherwise you'll never do them justice. I think, I don't know, personally, and maybe this is a dangerous confession, but in order to accurately like portray that character, I feel like I have to justify and even sometimes agree with what they do. Outside of my performance and my craft, you look back at it and be like, that character's evil. But if you're playing that evil character as evil, then you're just doing a caricature of the character. You're not tapping into what is driving them, what motivates them, and who they really are. and you're doing a disservice not only to yourself and the production, but your audience.
So yeah, Joe, one of the things I liked about your character was that he sounds like he sort of comes from money. He's got sort of he's quite sort of well off, and I just want, because I mean, often when we have sort of gangster programs set in London, but we've sort of like conditioned, I think, to grow up with the kind of the school of sort of Guy Ritchie, and there's a kind of caricature of the gangster that we've grown up with, and I was just wondering about sort of subverting that a little bit and what you think that adds to the character, that he's got a bit of a different background.
I mean, you talk about Guy Ritchie, that can also be linked to Matthew Vaughn, Layer Cake, and certainly Daniel Craig, and those characters are speaking in a more well-to-do tone, I guess. For me, I play a guy that has been educated at the finest public school in the UK. He's the son of the biggest gangster in the country, and he comes from money, and he comes from a gangster world, but he's in this other environment, and he's almost trying to prove himself. So voice for me was very important, and I spoke with Gareth Evans quite a bit about it, and we decided that it had to be something like this, and that's kind of how I get into a character, and for me it just the lyricism of the words and the script, just that tone just worked for me. There's almost an armour to this guy, and he uses his sort of stiff upper lip and his sort of posh vernacular as a kind of armour to protect himself in this gangster world that surrounds him.
And I mean, had you guys seen The Raid before getting involved in this project? Because how excited were you about collaborating with Gareth after? Because when I saw those movies, I mean, it's not usually when I see a film, I just love the film for what it is. But I remember when I saw that movie, I just wanted to meet the man who made it. Right. So how was it sort of like, when you knew that he was going to be sort of directing you in this instance? Because I mean, The Raid is one of the best films of the last sort of 2 decades, I think.
Yeah, The Raid kept coming up in conversation when I was doing Prayer Before Dawn. And because they kept comparing, I guess they were like, it's The Raid meets this film. So I watched The Raid and The Raid 2, and it's just, there's something else. It's a real unique style of action filmmaking that Gareth does, and it's on a different level. And I was very excited to see him, who's a genre filmmaker, in very specific worlds in the Far East, and to come in and do something like this in London. It was very exciting.
And did he because obviously you see shades of his kind of style as a filmmaker as well in episode 1. I was just wondering about the choreography to some of his fighting scenes. I mean, there's one in particular, and it's sort of, that was pretty incredible to watch. How was that to shoot?
Well, in terms of the fight scenes, like, a lot of credit has to be paid to Jude Poyer, who was the fight director on it, and Chris Webb, who we worked with, and all of the stuntmen who worked on the project. Like, it wouldn't be what it is without them and their incredible work and their incredible sequences. And I feel really honoured to have been a part of their art, And yeah, I was totally put through my paces. I had to do a bit of pre-production training for it. But I think that the violence, the fight scenes, and the action of Gangsters of London is going to be one of its unique selling points, that we haven't seen action and violence like this on UK screens, not on TV anyway. I remember reading the fight scene and being like, yo, this is TV that we're making, because it feels like something you want to see on the big screen. And we had the pleasure of watching the first episode, as you did, on a screen at the Curzon in Soho. And the cinematic aspect of not only the fight scenes, but the cinematography of the whole series is one of the things that is making it new and exciting, for sure.
Is it one of the joys of working on television? Is because, I mean, you've got 3 different filmmakers on this who are so different from the other. What's that like, making a TV series when you have different people come in and do with their own kind of different styles and different approaches? I mean, it must keep things so fresh, but make it so exciting for you guys. That you've got the character stays the same, but you've got such a different voice from above, kind of telling the story and sort of depicting the world.
Well, they were all so well prepped individually, and there was a healthy competition, I thought, between them. Everybody's trying to do the absolute best work they can with the constraints of time and money, and it was just exciting. It just felt like it was being elevated all the time, and they worked well together, and it was Yeah, for me, just a real joy to work with 3 different filmmakers on essentially the same job. Because what sort of happens is you start to feel like you understand your character because you've done 2 or 3 episodes and a new filmmaker comes in, and you've done 2 or 3 episodes, another one comes in. You start to really feel like you've got an ownership and an understanding of your character, and then they bring in new ideas and new possibilities, and then you start to sort of you become malleable and sort of find new things. So yeah, it was cool, man.
What you said about competition is entirely right. Like that thing about, oh, okay, so that's what they did in the first block. Okay,
Yeah,
how are we going to make this one like even more this and the other? And then the first block director gets to look at what the second block cinematographer's done. He's like, yo, we need to step up our game. So it just felt that everyone was like pushing each other and challenging each other healthily to create the best content that we could. No one could rest on their laurels because they all knew that the other directors and the other teams were doing incredible stuff with their episodes. So hopefully everyone's like, they're going to be one of the sharpest shows on TV because everyone was pushed. As opposed to, I'm not saying this ever happens because people are professionals, right? But if one person has complete control of the whole thing, then it can only ever be in their image. And sometimes if you open up to collaboration, you allow yourself to be interrogated to make sure it's as good as it could be, and then also that maybe they've actually got a better idea, and if you're receptive to it, the whole project's going to be better.
Of course, Joe, you're no stranger to big sort of the gangs on the smaller screen. I was just wondering if there's a Peaky Blinders WhatsApp group and if you're still in it or if they get rid of it.
No, there was never a WhatsApp group, and not in it, sadly. If there is one, I don't know about it.
And also, just quickly, like, my last question is: it's an exciting year for you because obviously you're working at the moment on Silent Night with sort of Keira Knightley and Matthew Good and people like that. That's a Christmas movie. What can you tell us about your role in that and what sort of audiences can expect from that?
Yeah, this year's been really good for me, I suppose. Well, I mean, it's only just begun, so we'll see what happens. But I've got like His House coming out on Netflix soon as well, and Haven Above Sky, German film that I've done. But with regards to Silent Night, I'm shooting it at the moment. I'm on set tomorrow and we wrap next week. It's just, it's not just, it's a really great Christmas film where a group of friends who've known each other since they were 7 have gotten together to have their last Christmas dinner together. It has like the touch of the Richard Curtis to it, but there's definitely a lot more to this film that I'm not able to speak about just yet, but hopefully more will be revealed anon.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for your time, guys.
Thank you so much.
Cheers, mate.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey You Guys!